I'm Dr. Elizabeth Epstein. Nice to sort of imagine seeing you all through the computer. So I got into biology actually as a non-traditional student. So I was one of those high school dual enrolled students taking classes at a local community college and just having a lot of fun without a lot of direction, just taking a lot of classes. And while I was doing that and just taking classes and everything I could imagine, I got involved with a parasitology project involving a parasite that infects a kind of marine snail. This was on the central coast of California. And that's really when I got like the discovery and research buzz. And after community college, I transferred to university, like many of our Mason students do, and just really fell in love with biochemistry. And it was when I caught myself seriously daydreaming about the steps in cellular respiration pathway that I realized that I really needed to pursue this pretty seriously and figure out like what this whole research and academia thing was about. And so I just started pounding on the doors of every professor in the university and finding out who could take me on to work in their lab. And so I had a really diverse set of experiences. I did biochemistry, trying to find out concentrations of like interesting compounds in strawberries using things like an HPLC and other specialized biochemistry equipment. I would capture lizards, a kind of lizard called a western fence lizard, and do a kind of special PCR, nested PCR technique, determine if it was infected with a local malaria parasite. That was fun. And I ended up doing some cell biology in a yeast lab, looking at vesicular trafficking. And it was in that last part in the vesicular trafficking lab that I learned about the real magic and marvel of protein-protein interactions and realized that this was the thing. It kept me awake at night. It just made me wonder like how this could possibly be true, like all these amazing systems. And then after there, I found myself going to the University of Michigan, where I pursued my PhD, and working in a bacterial lab, looking at the formation of a protein complex in the outer membrane of a gram-negative bacteria, and just getting really into understanding like how these bacteria live in the world, how they make these cool different protein machines and protein fibers on their cell surfaces. And that led me to like learn about biofilms. And then I got really into microbial diversity and like how bacteria are living in the world. And then after getting into biodiversity of bacteria, I never looked back. And so it's been kind of a strange path. It's not really been directed. It's been more like finding things that I was really excited about and just kept on asking until people gave me the opportunities to more and get experience. And it's been pretty fun.
Hi, I'm Dr. Ann Verhoeven, and I come to biology by a very, very roundabout way. So I'm going to start when I left high school. My guidance counselor in high school said, it's better to pick a major than it is to go into college undecided. And so I went through all the majors at Virginia Tech, and they had environmental science, and I literally said, I like the environment, and chose that. Now, environment math and engineering based, so it wasn't more of about conservation. It was more about the physics of pollution, how a smokestack, if you build it this high and the wind goes at this level, how far is that pollutant going to go? So it was more of that kind of degree. And I really liked it. And then one day I needed a job, and I went into my very small environmental there. It's only 10 to 15 students in the whole program. I said, I need a job, babysit, or do you know someone who needs help? And he said, yep, I know this guy named Dr. Hagedorn, and he needs help. And he happened to be an environmental microbiologist. And so I walked in there. I had no experience. I said, I need a job. Do you have anything I can do? And he said, yes. Normally I like someone who's taken micro. And I was like, well, I'm in micro right now. And he said, okay. And I worked with him for 2.5 years, and I loved it. I loved everything about microbiology. I loved it so much. And from there, I went on to Clemson to get my master's in microbiology, and I worked in doing cancer research. And then from there, I went to George Mason to finish up my PhD in infectious disease. And that's how I came into biology. So it was kind of a very roundabout, lucky way that I ended up where I am, which is a little bit unusual for the majority of people, that it went kind of circular. It was all just hard work, but a lot of luck, where people were like, hey, we'll give you a chance, and I took it. I teach my main class. I teach both lecture and lab. I also teach medical laboratory science, which is a degree where you're going to work in a clinical lab or a hospital. Some people will go do research with that clinical training, and some people will end up working for what we call a reference lab, like Quest Diagnostics or LabCorp. That's the majority of people that will get their medical laboratory science. So I teach MLab 200, which is an introductory course into that area.
So I'm a term assistant professor in the department, and I teach courses in biodiversity, our Bio300, which is our biodiversity course for majors, which is an extremely fun class. So we love it. I love all of them, but I love it so much. We just, kind of try to look at everything that's alive on Earth and how it came around and what it's interacting with and what its story is. So it's just a great, fun class. We have a great time. And I also teach and coordinate the introductory biology series, which is Bio 103, 106, and 107. Also really fun with a very diverse group of students, biology majors, and also a lot of biology non-majors as well, who are taking it as part of the Mason Core, and just to get some biology experience. And so that's a big class, also just like a kind of a big survey class where we're looking at a lot of different topics in biology. So there's always a lot of fun things we can do.
So the advice I generally give them is, take your time with your college degree. It doesn't matter that you get done in 4 years or 5 years. What really matters is more so your GPA, your overall GPA. I also say sometimes you need to take a break to figure out what it is you really, really want to do, right? So figure out what you want to do. You have a whole life ahead of you to kind of do what you want to do, and go on that way. The other piece of advice I tend to give students is to try it out, right? So you want to work in a lab, find a lab and work in it. Do you like it? Do you like even the menial tasks like washing dishes? Are you seeing what the students are doing around you? Are you seeing what a day is really like? So try out, find someone to shadow, find someone who will allow you into the lab for a couple days if you can't get an internship. I know that's difficult right now to find anyone that is willing to let you into their space, but when this all ends, which it will at some point end, to find someone that you can interact with and actually see what it is that you want to be doing.
So I think that the one big piece of advice that I would give to new students, either biology majors or non-majors who are taking a biology class, is to remember to take a step back during your class and think about the overall goal that you have for yourself. And I know there's kind of different levels of goals, and sometimes our immediate goal is to get a great grade on a test, and that's fine. But I think it's important to also keep in mind that this is a step on your path to other things, and you don't want to miss the opportunity to learn something that could be extremely exciting and could be a moment that gives you clarity to what you want to pursue and what adventures you want to have in the future. And I think sometimes if we're kind of too narrowly focused on wanting to get a good grade, we can miss those opportunities for learning and excitement that can come in these classes. And so I would say try to keep a broad perspective, or at least check in with a broad perspective every so often, and think about what are your long-term goals? Where are you in 5 years, and what interesting information and wisdom could there be in a class that can that you can bring with you to that place that you want to be in 5 years. So don't be afraid to go deep in your class. And then the other classes, I do teach classes that have very high content volume. I would say for students to remember that it's about time and repetition, that you can learn this like huge amount of information. It will be yours, and then you can take it with you wherever you go. And it just takes time and repetition, and putting that time in to get it. So that's my big advice. So some things that come to mind are, I noticed like the people who work at publishing companies, both for textbooks and lab manuals. And I've had the opportunity to work with a few editors now and then for lab manuals and things. And it's very interesting to me, like how people can bring a biology background into like making like something like a textbook or a lab manual, and that has so many pieces as part of it, like the illustration piece and of course the marketing and sales piece. But I would imagine that it would be like a really fun way to kind of keep up to date with like a lot of different areas of biology, because you're seeing like all the information coming into these textbooks and lab manuals, and I bet it's pretty fun. So that's one thing. Biology Illustrator, which I know other people have mentioned before, is one that I often kind of like wonder for myself if that could have been a thing, just because it's just so amazing to express yourself that way, and good illustrations just like make such a difference to learners, both like students who are in college, but also when you're reading a paper and you come across like a great piece of art that's illustrating something in an article you're reading. It's very helpful and very interesting. So those are two things. And I guess the last thing are like folks who work with zoos and in wildlife preserves. I think those are like some really interesting places that people can put their biology degree to work. It's really fun and outside of school.
So there really wouldn't be much different. I really love how I got to where I am. The only thing I think I honestly would do, and this is not just a plug for my degree program, is I think I would have loved to be a medical laboratory scientist. I am not a trained medical laboratory scientist. I can't go work in a hospital, and I love that type of work. The other thing I might want to do is do a little bit more research. I really do love to be in a physical lab. And right now I just don't have the time to do it, but maybe in the future. But that I wouldn't do much differently with my particular career. But again, my career kind of took twists and turns. It wasn't a linear type of thing.
And I think you've already named careers that can use a biology degree, so at least one with the medical laboratory program. But other ideas of careers that use biology?
Well, there's so many, and there's a lot that people don't think about with biology careers. So medical laboratory science is one of them, and it's close to my heart because I help the students through that program. But also like patent law. So they need actual scientists to look through the laws or the patents that are coming through to see and good. And so that's a career choice that some people who have really good writing abilities, that's not me, can do and are interested in doing. Scientific illustrators. I've had a number of students come through, and my immunology exams are all essay, and I have people draw these they are amazing pictures, and I end up saying you should really look into becoming a scientific illustrator because they're really good. And that's something you can do with your scientific background because you understand what it actually is supposed to look like, not just people are telling you what it looks like and you're trying to visualize it. You actually understand what it does. So those are two kind of oddball careers that people might think of. There's always teaching, there's always research, and those kind of things. There's always medical school, PA school, that kind of stuff. But there's a lot you can do. I know also in medical laboratory science, a lot of people will go into sales or technical aspects of the equipment that's actually used. So a lot of people that go into that area were trained medical laboratory scientists or trained biologists that are then able to go, okay, I understand how this process works, I understand how this equipment works, and are able to then sell it and work with bigger companies.
Well, thank you. Very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, this is lovely. I wish I could meet everyone in person and be around them, and someday we will again. But right now, this is about as good as it gets.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.